Real estate is all about marketing. In fact, it's so important that it actually becomes intimidating because when you start, it's like all anybody talks about. But once you break everything down and compartmentalizing it, it's really not intimidating. You'll quickly learn that you can optimize your system. You don't have to spend a ton of money. There's a lot of stuff you can do for free. So let's just go through the basics. And along the way, I'm going to take you to one of my absolute favorite stores of all time. And I'm also going to take you through a marketing exercise that I stumbled upon during making this video. Enjoy.
Before we get further into developing your marketing plan and talk about marketing your business in general, we just need to cover a couple basic elements. First, and this is always kind of up for debate, people are really curious about how much money you should spend marketing your business. I mean, the short answer to that is as much as you can, or the more the better, but a good benchmark is 15% of your gross sales should be spent on advertising. And it could take different contexts. So let's say you have a listing. Of that 15%, 2.5% should be spent on pre-marketing. So that would be, flyers and things to talk about your property coming soon. 10% should be marketing the property itself. So flyers for listings, having a videographer come in and shoot footage, sending out postcards to the neighborhood talking about the listing, and the remaining 2.5% should be for post-sale stuff. So sending out a postcard to the neighborhood or going door to door with flyers talking about how awesome you are of an agent to get that property sold. In a completely different term that you may have never heard before, but is super common in marketing, you'll probably hear me say 20 times, is the term called top of mind. Really, the main idea of marketing in real estate is if someone thinks about real estate, you want them to think about you. So it's called staying top of mind. And really, that is the complete goal of real estate. Because real estate, it's not like a different consumer good like toothpaste, where once you run out, you need to go get more. Someone may want to use you and they may know they're going to use you at some point, but until they're ready to buy or sell, they won't. So staying top of mind, being that first person in somebody's mind when they do decide to buy or sell, that is the absolute name of the game. So top of mind is a term you're going to hear a lot. And although you have to spend, 15% of each sale or potentially more, and I've said this before, I'm not a CPA, I'm not authorized to give tax advice necessarily, but whatever you put into marketing your business is generally a tax deduction. So although it kind of sucks, paying a few $1,000s of each commission on marketing, just know that once you sit down to do your taxes at the end of the year, it's going to be a business expense for you, and it's actually going to help you out on your taxes. So whatever you put into it, you'll generally get out. So it helps kind of cushion the blow a little bit for all that money you spend on marketing. And when I started in real estate, I was really curious about how I was going to get information, people's names, addresses, potentially even email addresses to do the marketing. You can go onto the tax assessor website and generally get kind of one-by-one information. If you plug an address, it'll say who lives there and their names. But a great shortcut, whatever title company your brokerage has a relationship with, those guys are like the information wizards. So you could send them, an entire block of addresses, and within minutes, they'll email you back names, information about when they bought the property. Your title company is going to be your best friend for getting information in which to send out your marketing to. It's sometimes free, sometimes you have to pay a little, but it is so much more time efficient than doing all that research yourself. And some of these title companies can even get email addresses for you, so you can send email blasts out. So those are just some marketing fundamentals before we start getting into the nitty-gritty. So if you're a good little license solutions student, you're going to recognize a bunch of these terms that we're going to go over right now. But recognizing your audience is the first place to start before you start laying out your marketing plan. So first off, and this is a term you're going to hear a lot, not just in real estate, but just advertising in general, your sphere of influence is super important. It's basically the people in and around your life who you have influence over. So if you've been living in a neighborhood for a long time and you know a lot of neighbors, your sphere of influence includes your neighborhood. If you belong to a gym and you're chatty and you talk to trainers and you talk to other people, your sphere of influence could be LA Fitness or wherever you go to the gym. If you go to church, it could be fellow churchgoers, or same thing with any club or sport or association, or even just your groups of friends or your family. So, sphere of influence is basically all the people in and around you who you have the potential to reach. Now, geographic farming, and we went over this, in our test prep. It basically is advertising by way of focusing on a neighborhood or a city or a block. So again, let's say you live in your neighborhood and you want to start trying to get business in your neighborhood. Geographic farming is focusing on a specific neighborhood or area in general. Now, non-geographic farming focuses it doesn't necessarily focus on a neighborhood. It's more of a concept. So let's say that same church you belong to, you want to try to procure business and you want to send them flyers every month. Non-geographic farming would be reaching people, but not necessarily because of where they live, but to something else that they have in common. Now, specific advertising would be advertising for a specific property. So let's say you have a new listing, it's on coming soon, and you want to advertise when your first open house is going to be. Specific advertising would be blasting that email out or that digital ad or sending through the mail, advertising about the specific property you're trying to get people to buy. Institutional advertising is sort of like it's sort of the inverse of specific advertising, because instead of selling a specific home or a property, you're selling an idea like yourself. So let's say you had a really strong year and at the end of the year you want to send a recap to everyone about your top sales. Institutional advertising is something you would send out, so it advertises you, not necessarily a specific property. Institutional advertising is also good for your brokerage. So if you're in a high profile brokerage that achieves a lot of things, you can actually advertise your brokerage. It's coming from you, but you're advertising the brokerage itself as a way to get business.
So when you join a local realtor board, you get access to an exclusive store, which gives you so many different items you can purchase, and they're actually all really affordable price. For an agent like me, this is like Dork Out Central, and I love it. These are boxes with stakes over here that you can put in front of your listing sign, so you could put additional information about your property, all sorts of different sign stands for displaying them, riders galore, and my favorite right over here, aren't we all gorgeous inside? Never use that one personally, but I always get a chuckle for some reason. These fill in the blank ones are really nice because you can use them over and over again. Acrylic holders for extra flyers, binders with inserts for all of your open house materials. Down there in the lower left are shoe covers. Trust me, your clients are always going to appreciate if you have guests wear those. More sign hardware, because signs come in all different shapes and sizes. And last but not least, when you have a sign, why not throw a flag out there just to get a little extra attention for your listing?
Before we get into kind of the bummer part, and that's actually paying for advertising, I'm going to make you feel better because probably 70% of the advertising I do is of the free variety, and that's just a great feeling, right? First and foremost, and not surprising, social media is such a great way for agents in our generation to be able to promote your business. So it doesn't cost you any money to post on Facebook or make an Instagram reel or go on LinkedIn and link up with other professionals. Social media is extremely important in our business, and it's just becoming more and more important. In fact, we're sort of writing the book as we go along. But yeah, just posting a property you have for sale, or you just out there doing real estate stuff so you stay top of mind to your followers. Social media is such a great way to promote your business. Open houses are another amazing free opportunity for you to promote yourself. So whether it's your open house and you're trying to find a buyer, or once you start in your brokerage and you start making relationships with more seasoned agents, offer to hold their open houses for them. It's kind of busy work, or a lot of agents see it as busy work, but for you, anyone that walks through that door could potentially be a buyer for that home and be unrepresented. So if you just kind of see a couple walk in and there's no agent with them, you should see dollar signs, because you want to go engage that person, have some small talk, exchange some info, because they might want to buy that house, they might want to buy a similar house, or even better, they might need to sell their house in that neighborhood and buy another house. So you can even double end situations. Anyways, open houses, you can strike gold. It's kind of like a slot machine. It's, low probability, but when you hit, it's good and it is free. Door knocking is probably the most nerve-wracking thing that I've done as a real estate agent. It hasn't even been particularly fruitful for me yet, but I've only been doing this a couple years, so I'm not giving up on it. But just door knocking in the neighborhood and introducing yourself. It's best if you have something to offer. So if you have like a little grab bag that has, some notepads or some hand sanitizer, just something to give away to people. People love free stuff. So if you have a little bit of promotional stuff to give away, it doesn't actually cost you any money to go knock on doors. It's nerve-wracking as hell, but I hear it's worth the payoff, so I'll give you an update on that as it works out for me. And probably the most abstract way of free advertising is just simply going out there and doing stuff. Now, most people would call that networking, but I just say doing stuff. So when you're out at the gym, just be social. Talk to, don't be creepy, but just talk to people, make small talk, and mention you're a real estate agent. In every social opportunity, there's potential for a new client. Sometimes my wife will go out with coworkers, and I really don't have any interest in going, but then I kind of think to myself, well, hey, this could be an opportunity for me to have a couple drinks and just talk about real estate, because what does everyone talk about in small talk? What do you do for a living? Well, you're a real estate agent. And frankly, real estate's interesting to an average person, so they're going to ask you questions about real estate, and who knows, it might result in you getting a client. So it doesn't cost you any advertising dollars to go out there and just do stuff. So do it. And keeping in touch with your current leads and with previous clients, it's free and extremely important, because if you want your business to turn into a referral business, staying in touch and referrals don't usually cost you a penny. So you want to keep your client, your past client, your prospective client, keep them on the line, send them text messages, say hi during holidays. It's tempting when it's a done deal to just kind of let that person die off if they're not in your personal life. Don't do that. Stay in touch with people, say what's up, offer advice here and there. It doesn't cost you a penny, and it'll help you retain them and get some referral business.
So in real estate, you'll learn that ideas can come from the most random places sometimes. So I have a really nice lease listing, and a VP from a photography company came in and gave me a great idea. So whenever a listing expires, usually agents are on it like flies trying to get the listing. Well, the idea he gave me is to, hey, take this wonderful lease listing that I have, contact these property owners with expired listings, and instead of trying to get a listing for them, say, hey, why don't we try leasing your property? What leasing is great for as an agent, it's basically an inroad, so when they are ready to buy or sell a property, they end up using you. So right now I'm going through the expired listings in my area for the last month, and I'm sending out handwritten letters to everyone. Let me show you what those look like. The MLS is an amazing tool, and it's exactly what I needed to be able to do my project. So I was really easily able to narrow down the expired listings from the last month, a price range, and which cities I want to target. You just hit enter and it literally arranges them alphabetically by price, however you want to do it. And then you can get into the listing really easy. You know which address you're sending the letter to. When you go into the tax roll of it, you actually see the owner's name too. So you get to be like a amateur sleuth. These are the letters I wrote. So I did a handwritten letter explaining, hey, I saw your listings expired. Why don't you let me to list it for you? And then I put an example of a flyer from my current lease listing. That way they can see I'm legit. So I did about 45 of these. Ignore my horrible handwriting, and I'm ready to send these out.
So let's now get into some ways that you can pay to grow your business. So paid advertising, it might sound kind of intimidating at first, but it's a really unique way to be able to reach people. And a lot of us might think that print advertising is archaic, and in some cases, yeah, that is the case, but not necessarily always. And especially if you want to get into luxury properties, properties that are, high value properties, generally older people tend to own those properties. So don't necessarily think about yourself as only marketing to your peers that, might use social media for everything. Think about marketing to someone that's in their 60s or 70s that owns a $3 million house. A lot of those people, they read through the mail. They still get letters. They read through magazines and newspapers, and it's not all just older people. I like to use those forms of media myself, but it's just an example. Not everyone is like you, so there's still value with sending flyers, sending postcards through the mail, taking an ad in a publication if you have a high dollar listing, and cards. That's business cards. That's something we all use. Business cards are great. They aren't very expensive, and it's a nice way to kind of personalize your business and put your mark on it. Now, something that you probably does come to mind with paid advertising is digital. So it is a good idea to have your own website so people know where to go to, they could scan a QR code and go to your site and see all about you and your previous sales. And there's also ads you could take out. So you could take an ad out on Facebook, for example. And the nice thing is it's not necessarily always that expensive, because a lot of these especially on social media channels, you can pay by click. So let's say you want to spend $100 a month, it'll tell you how many clicks that gets, and then it'll target you there. So it's not always necessarily the most expensive thing in the world to do. So digital advertising, it's the way to go. And you might think signs would fall under that, like archaic print advertising uh, umbrella, but they don't. So first off, if you have a listing, your listing sign, so your for sale sign, it is probably the most single valuable dollar for dollar paid advertising that you will ever do. Because yeah, I mean, most people actually know about your home by seeing it online. Agents see it on MLS, consumers and buyers, they'll see it on Zillow and Redfin. But what that sign does is it tells everybody that lives in that neighborhood, oh, the Smiths are selling the home, and oh, who's this Michael guy selling it? All right, he must know what he's doing because he sold that home, and it's going to put you top of mind in that neighborhood. So having that sign up and keeping it up as long as you can until the day you close escrow is great, because it's a sign you pay for, but once it's up there, it is basically free advertising in that neighborhood until you take it down. So listing signs, riders, remember that's like the little sign you put above or below your listing sign that says a special feature of the home. Those are really valuable too, because you can interchange those out. In billboards, it's something that I haven't done yet as an agent, but some agents, they'll put their name and face on a billboard or on a bus stop. And I know some of that seems sort of cliche, but the biggest area agents tend to do that. I haven't gotten to that level yet, so I'm not sure what kind of levels of success it has, but if I do eventually do that, I'll update you and let you know how that's looking. And events and entertaining, and this is actually one of my favorite ways to use paid advertising. Events and entertaining is great because it gets you in front of groups of people and really lets them to get to know you on a personal level, so they can fall in love with you, and then when they decide they need to buy or sell a property, they'll use you. So events could be sponsoring something local. So I live pretty close to a couple local breweries. Sometimes when they have tasting events, I'll try to get in there. I'll pay for an advertising space where my brokerage and my name and number can be on print advertising that they use at those events. And then I'll also attend those events, invite people that are on my social media network to come join me. And then it's a good way to just kind of bring clients together all at once, advertise myself and my business kind of locally in the area, and have some drinks in the process. So how do you go wrong with that? And entertaining could be kind of holding an event of your own. So I have this girl I've known for a long time. She's a really successful real estate agent. One of the biggest way she gets new business every year. She does like a gift wrapping event around the winter holiday times, and she provides everything. She pays for all the tape and ribbon and wrapping paper, and she advertises it like crazy on her social and a little bit of print. And she just invites everyone to come for a holiday gift wrapping. And of course, when people show up, her cards are out there, flyers for properties, and it's just a way to bring people together in a non-real estate situation and introduce them to you. So entertaining and events are a great way of paid advertising to bring people in. And I haven't really tried this myself. And again, if I do decide to do it, I'll let you know and give you feedback. There's a lot of companies that do lead generation. So you pay X amount of dollars a month and they will give you leads. I've heard different feedback. I've heard it working for some people. Some people thought that they kind of got scammed out of it, but there's got to be some real stuff out there. I have yet to vet any myself, but when you're an agent, trust me, like the second you're licensed, you're going to start getting calls and emails from lead gen. My suggestion is just vet them, research it. If something sounds good, ask around in your brokerage, see if anyone else has used them with any level of success before you go out and pay the money yourself.
So there you have it. There's the marketing basics. I've talked to agents that have been doing this for 40 years, and they're constantly learning on the fly. So if you just come in with an open mind, a little bit of an open checkbook, it'll really serve you well. You'll generate a lot of business. And once it actually starts working, marketing becomes a fun thing, not something that'll scare the hell out of you.